brand new review. And for today's show, I'll be talking about one of the sweetest and most adorable shows to ever grace the winter 2019 season. And what makes this show so sweet and adorable? Well, let me tell you. Cats. It's sorry about that, but as a proud cat mama myself, I can't help but get a tiny bit of a soft spot for these lovable and fluffy little turds we call cats. Isn't that right, guys? They agree with me. They agree with me. Seriously, they do. Trust me. Trust me on this. But with that being said, I can't wait to talk about this show, and neither can you. Let's get started with today's review on My Roommate is a Cat. The series focuses on young, introverted mystery writer named Subaru Mikazuki and his newly adopted tuxedo cat, Haru. While visiting his parents' graves, he happens to find Haru and decides to take her in as he believes it's some strange sign from his dead parents and a possible source of inspiration for his next work. Because yeah, if I found a random cat near the grave of my dead parents, I'd take it home without questioning if it was 100% safe. That's how I got my second cat. At first, the two seem pretty distant, with Subaru often being reclusive and Haru being, well, a cat. But eventually the two grow a close bond and Subaru gradually comes out of his shell. And that's pretty much this series. Though being a slice of life, it's not too surprising that it takes an episodic route. Still, even with this in mind, there's a good bit to talk about. So it's pretty obvious why a lot of people fell in love with this show. Because kitties! But taking the obvious cutesy elements out of the equation, is there any merit to the show at all? Well, surprisingly, yes. Overall, I give My Roommate is a Cat an 80. Starting off on the positives here, let's get straight to the point and talk about what was, for me anyways, the best part of the series. And that's how it's structured. The really neat part about this show is that Subaru is not the main focus. It's him and Haru. Subaru is in fact the main character, but Haru is an equally important part of the show. Heck, it wouldn't be called My Roommate is a Cat if the cat didn't share a little bit of the spotlight. I mean, what would you call the show if it wasn't? Lonely Emo tries to write? The show knows that Haru is an important character, and they make this clear in a pretty unique way. In each episode, one half focuses on Subaru and his day-to-day life. Then in the second half, we get to see Haru's perspective of Subaru's day-to-day life. Or rather, we see the same events played out in Subaru's day through Haru's eyes. So in each episode, we not only get to see Subaru's view of the world around him, but we also get Haru's side of that same exact world. I love how the show is structured because it gives each of our leads their moment to shine. It might also be that it's just the Aspie in me who likes those clearly distinct lines, but either way, it's a very nice touch. Plus, it's always entertaining to watch Haru's half of each episode as we see what she thinks about Subaru and the new life that she has. And don't lie, if you're a cat owner and didn't feel like you understood your cat just a little better after watching all the Haru scenes, then you're not alone. And while we're still on the subject of perspectives and characters, I really loved how the running plot, yes, there is one here, I know it's weird for a slice of life show, was very well done. Well, okay, technically speaking, there's actually two running plots going on. On the one hand, you have Subaru, who is trying to accept the deaths of both of his parents and slowly but surely be a little more open with the world around him. And then you have Haru, who must adjust to life as a house cat after spending most of that life as a stray who had to fight for her life. But thanks to the way the show is structured, both stories coexist almost perfectly. Not one side is emphasized more than the other, and each one is given the same amount of time to expand on. Sometimes, though, the two do tend to intersect with each other, often leading to some pretty funny moments.
But at times, they can be pretty touching and also pretty powerful. One of the best examples of this happens in episode 3.
From Subaru's perspective, Haru is being...
Am I stating the obvious here when I say why she's doing what she's doing?
Anyway, Haru keeps running around the house and knocking things over, eventually messing up an altar that's meant to honor Subaru's parents. After rearranging the altar, Subaru starts to reminisce about his parents, leading to an emotional moment for him as he mourns them, openly crying over his loss.
Then we get to Haru's point of view. And this is the moment in the video where you pause it and go grab you some tissues.
When we switch to Haru's side of the story, it turns out she was chasing the spirits of Subaru's parents, which she can only see. Her chasing them down leads her to the altar where she knocks it over, leading to Subaru to clean up the mess, leading then to his breakdown, and then the spirits of both of his parents moving on as they feel Haru is the right emotional support for him. Yeah, who knew a cat running around like the house is on fire could lead to one of the show's sweetest moments?
Though it makes me wonder, whenever my cats scratch my grandmother's chair, are they doing that because they can see her? Or because they just can?
It's touching moments like these that really show how well both stories can come together. These are two separate storylines that somehow work well together as well as separately.
But even in the separate parts, they're both linked to the self-contained plot of each episode.
Again, thanks to the show's structure, we get an idea of what one character thinks of the other. Subaru does genuinely care for Haru, though he tends to find her annoying at times. Despite initially taking her in was to find inspiration for his latest novel.
Because what cat wants to stalk you and kill you? At least, I hope that not all cats think that way. Right, guys? Okay.
We also get to see what Haru thinks of Subaru, and it's about as cat-like as you can get.
He brings the food. Yes, really.
Haru actually thinks her name means food only out of association. It's shown in flashbacks that the word is often used whenever she receives food. It's cute and kind of funny, but at least you know why the name stuck. So, yeah, the show overall has a great story to it and a clever way of combining two different character arcs into one.
Now, so far, I've sounded pretty positive and upbeat about this show, and I'll be honest, I didn't really find that many problems with it. But if I'm also being honest here, slice of life really isn't my thing.
I'd like to think that I'm a shonen girl at heart, and tend to like some action in my anime. And sadly, that's kind of why I fell out of touch with this series. Well, that and there were other good shows that came out at the time that I decided to watch. I didn't think the show was bad. It just wasn't my cup of tea. Fortunately, though, I managed to get halfway through it and really did enjoy it.
Though if I really had to nitpick here, and I mean nitpick, there are two concerns that I had that I feel like would deter some people.
One, Subaru can be tedious and monotonous at times. He does tend to keep his reclusive and distant personality throughout the show, though you do tend to see him open up quite a good bit, going back to what I said earlier about his parents' altar. But again, I think that's more or less because this show is a slice of life, and character development is not the focus. It's telling a self-contained story about the daily life of the lead character, or in this case, characters, with an S. So it's not anything wrong, it just kind of gets a little grating. And finally, I think the show takes full advantage on all its cutesy moments, especially when they involve Haru. There's absolutely nothing wrong with these scenes. Far from it. It's the best parts. But if you're not a fan of that, then you probably won't like this show. Still, the plot itself would be enough to keep even the biggest of cat haters invested.
So overall, My Roommate is a Cat is a sweet and touching show about a man and his cat. Well, not entirely, but it's kind of hard to end this review when really that's just the premise of the show. It's a man and his cat. But I will say, though, that the show beautifully takes two different plots and combines them together to create said sweet and touching show, making it the perfect show to catch up on. Yeah, I did that. I made that joke. Cut to the poster. Go cut to it right now. And so that wraps up today's review. As always, thank you so much for watching, and be sure to stick around for another brand new review. Till next time, I'm gonna go love on my kitties. Birdie!